Hi, everybody. This is Meg Hansen. It's election night, and I wanted to do a Facebook Live because I have things that I want to say. So right now, I'm seeing that we have the election results are coming in, and as far as the lieutenant governor Republican primary is concerned, Scott Millen has 45% and I have 30%. He's at 13,000 votes. I'm at 9,476 votes. So, well, it's not been called, obviously. I'm just telling you where we are at. It's kind of been like that. There's about 51% of the districts are reporting. So 142 towns out of 275. Um, on the Democratic side, it looks like Molly Gray has just completely won. Is that people like to say shellacked, right? I don't know if shellacking is right, but Tim Ash isn't doing so well. I think in our Republican side, it's clear that Governor Phil Scott has won. It's a huge margin. I think he got about 22,000 votes. They haven't called anything yet, but it just looks like that's where it is. I don't know about our race, but so far it's kind of been like uh, Scott Millen is like in his early 40s in terms of percentage, and I'm like between like about 35, 33 around that time. So, well, we'll see what happens, but I want to, it's getting late, so I want to make sure that I get a few of my messages out. So, right off the bat, I want to, just from my heart, I want to thank all of you who voted for me, who went to the polls today, and absentee or early ballot voting. I'm a first-time candidate. Um, I got into this race just sole conviction in my heart, um, and all day long I've just been getting so many wonderful messages, so many wonderful messages on texts, and I'm so humbled and honored. Yes, I'm just a little emotional. Mm, I'm really moved. Thank you so much for believing in this campaign and for believing in my candidacy. I want to thank um, my entire campaign team. You know who you are. I'm not going to list the names. I'll send a private note to all of you, but for working so hard and giving your time and efforts, driving all around the state, making calls, volunteering, just giving your heart and soul to this campaign and to this effort. So many of you I didn't even know, I just met online, and so many of you have been helping out even though we've never even met in person. It's just, as I said, it's just it moves me to tears and it fills my heart is just enlarged with love. It just shows, the connection and how much we all love Vermont and care for Vermont. So thank you to all of you so much. I see our Small Towns Big Hearts campaign as a family. This is our family of shared values and convictions, a family that spans all across the state. And I'm incredibly honored, I'm incredibly grateful and honored to have, been a part of this and to be, participating in this. So thank you so much for all of you for believing this and for believing in what our message is, and supporting us. And I want to say a special thank you to my husband, Rick. Um, he's my anchor, my best friend, my soulmate, and I wouldn't be here. I couldn't be here if it wasn't for him. If it wasn't for him by my side supporting me, the 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 love and the support, just the enormous belief in what we're doing in our message tells me that there are tens of thousands of Vermonters who are hurting under the current system. Um, and the system doesn't work. The things that I'm talking about, our campaign talks about, whether it's prosperity for middle class families, working class families, the demographic crisis, all of these things are real. The things I believe that our campaign has been successful in making these connections because we speak the truth. We stand up for what is right and we call out what is wrong. We have courage and we have conviction and we stand by it. We're not when people try to punch down on us and bully us, we stand up. And I think that's really why this has taken off and why this has just been such an incredible, incredible family, as I said. Um, the messages, the messaging that I said that resonates, it's true, it's real, and if a Democrat wins, it won't change. I know that. I just know that. The people who benefit from the status quo, from the current system, will never change it. Why should they change it? They benefit from it. And the fact that this has resonated with so many just tells me that this is the lived experience of reality of so many of us who are struggling here or trying to make it, and we just don't have the opportunities that we should as Americans, when it comes to the American dream, when it comes to upwardly mobile jobs, when it comes to just having the opportunity and the ability, the freedoms to build the lives that we want for ourselves and our families. I don't think it's wrong for me to want to afford to buy a house, to afford to raise children here, to save for retirement. I think these are very normal dreams of a middle class family, and yet they are just completely out of reach here. Um, and that's what this campaign was about, or is about. I shouldn't sound like it's a concession speech. I'm just saying that I'm looking at the numbers and I want to make sure that I get this message out. I think it's very important to thank everybody. Thank you, every single person. I mean, we have about 10,000 people who voted for a first-time candidate who came out of nowhere, and that really means a lot. When this campaign began, it began with everybody telling me that I'll lose, that I don't have a chance, um, that I didn't have any financial advantages, any political advantages, nothing. No nepotistic advantages, nothing. Nobody rooting for me, nobody saying, okay, yes, Meg. No, in fact, everybody was like, no, don't run. The only people who believed in me were the voters, of Vermonters. And that, as I said, the two things that have fueled this campaign, the courage of my convictions and the tremendous support from Vermonters. Our campaign is the only one that has, as I've always said, that what money cannot buy and what political power cannot command, which is the love and support and enthusiasm from right, and enthusiasm from from tens of thousands of Vermonters. No, I'm seeing the messages. I'm not saying that it's over. I'm just saying that I'm looking at the numbers, and I'll do a little breakdown. I'll do an analysis of it. But before I get to that, I just want to just tell you, what's on my mind. The reason why I believe this has been successful is because I've always been authentic and I've always shared from my heart. And so I just want to share and say that we began with nothing, but we are here on this day with so much love. And love is the right word. It's not an exaggeration, it's love, that I feel for all our supporters, and I know our supporters feel for me and for our team. So, no, I haven't. My heart is just so full of love. Okay, so let's just do the breakdown. All right, let's look at it. So far, I'm seeing we have 55% of the districts are reporting. Scott Milne is leading, and he has 14,447, which is about 45% of the vote, and I have 9,700, which is about 30% of the vote. Now, I want to say that this is not the case for the governor's race, but in the Republican primary for lieutenant governors, there are three other people. So there's Dwayne Tucker, Dana Colson Jr., and Jim Hogue. And all of them, so Dwayne Tucker got 1,700 votes, about 5%. Dana got just under 5%, and Jim Hogue has got about 3.5%. So I'm not saying that those votes would have gone to me or to Milne, but that's definitely a splitting. I wouldn't be able to tell whether it was, let's say the conservative vote or the very liberal Republican vote. I don't know that, but I just know that is enough about 15% of the vote going to 3 other candidates. So that's enough of, I think that's enough to have some sort of influence for sure. If this is the number, so I've sort of seen that this is the kind of trends that are going. If this continues, then we'll see. I think it's very good. It's not. I think it's very respectable, showing we've kind of had the same numbers throughout. I don't know if that means there could be an upswing in his favor or mine, but right now this is sort of where we are at. And my personal expectation, just based on nothing, just based on my personal expectation, is that it will continue at this level. So, well, let's see what comes of it. But this is sort of my my assessment of it. And I know it's irrational. I'm just thinking and I'm just sort of guessing. It's not based on any polling or any scientific measurement. So I could be completely wrong. But this is, I've seen like over the last couple of 2 hours, it's been at this pace. So I expect it to be at that same pace moving forward. Now, what are the highlights as I'm seeing? Definitely, I won all the towns in southern Vermont, definitely Bennington County, you know, parts of Windsor County as well, Wyndham County. So this is no, so I mean I can see that, you know, I've been talking about representing southern Vermont. It's underrepresented, and I can see why that worked, and I'm very, very proud and very happy of it, for that, for the great showing and the turnout. And okay, let's look at it again. So I'm just switching the screen and I'm looking at the Vermont election site to see the numbers, and how that's happening. Now, when we look at the governor's race, Phil Scott's gotten 23,000 votes, and John Clark is second with 7,500 votes. So I think it's clearly Phil Scott's win. I think they could probably call it for him. On the Democratic side, we're seeing David Zuckerman do very well. He has 25,000 votes, and I think he's clearly beating Rebecca Holcomb, who's also done well, 19,000. But so it's sort of the same thing. Like David Zuckerman is at 44%, Rebecca is at 33%. So it looks like it's David. This is going to be David Zuckerman, and on the lieutenant governor, it's definitely Molly Gray. So I'm looking at my predictions are it's going to be Zuckerman and Gray. Now, here's the time that I want to share with you that. So now, and I'm going to be very clear. I'm prefacing this. This is my analysis, looking forward, and an assessment of the situation. So my critics will definitely say, oh, let's say we don't prevail tonight. I'm sure they'll point fingers and say, oh, you're so a loser, etc., etc. That's fine. They're entitled to their opinion. I am entitled to my assessment. So it looks to me clearly that it's going to be Molly Gray who is the nominee. And if this trend continues and Scott Milne wins, then Scott Milne told me I knew him before either of us entered the race. I've known him for five years as an acquaintance, because he lived in Windsor County, you know, and I used to live there. So he told me on the phone in February that if Molly Gray is the candidate, if Molly Gray is the nominee on the left, he can't beat her. He thinks that he can beat Tim Ash, though I doubt that. But looks like Tim Ash is done. His 10-year career in the Senate is over, and Vermont politics is over for now. So if we already are going in knowing that, let's say our nominee is Scott Milne, okay, I think that if Molly Gray wins and if our campaign isn't successful, then my prediction is Molly Gray is the next lieutenant governor. And I don't know, it'll be very close between David Zuckerman and Phil Scott. I don't know. They are both getting quite a lot of votes, but right now it looks like there are more votes cast in the Democrat. I'm looking at the numbers in the Democratic primary. And this is also true in 2018. Phil Scott won governor. David Zuckerman won lieutenant governor, but David Zuckerman got more votes. His vote total was more than Phil Scott. I don't know with COVID, if they continue the state of emergency, if people are happy with that. I don't know how that changes anything. Bernie Sanders is not on the presidential ticket. I don't know if that changes anything. These are all different factors to consider, but I think it will be a very tight race between Zuckerman and Phil Scott. It won't be a tight race for the lieutenant governor's race at all. So now here are a few things that Here are a few things that I will say about this race. And I think it's very important that all of us, so all of you are here. I see a lot of people are listening. And this is a message from my heart to yours. This is something that I think is very serious, and I hope you will please listen and understand what's happening and what's at stake. COVID was used. So COVID, yes, COVID happened. There's a pandemic. Okay, that's true. But we've had months of scientific data that tells us clearly that we don't need to have a one-size-fits-all approach. That is wrong. We don't need to have an extended, months-long shutdown in a place like Vermont. That is wrong. There's absolutely no need to do that. We already have a private sector that is anemic. And so the people who are out of jobs, 1 in 4 Vermonters are unemployed right now. That's not the state government. That's not in the K through 12 public education. Okay, that's in the private sector, or even our hospitals, where a lot of people are getting furloughed or let go. That's not a good sign. It's not a conspiracy theory to know and to acknowledge that there are political considerations that go into extending the state of emergency to August 15th. August 15th. It started in March and August 15th. What does that do? That has made this primary election completely unusual, completely unprecedented. So if you're a first-time candidate, and I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm speaking for somebody, for everybody, and people on the left as well have said this. If you're not the blessed person, who has this blessing from the establishment, the golden girl or the golden boy, with, let's say, Patrick Leahy's fundraiser working on your campaign. If that's not the case, and if you're trying to do a true grassroots movement, ground up, right, and you're connecting with the people, you need to be able to go out there and you need to be able to talk to people and get name recognition. You need to be able to raise money. So people should have jobs so that they can donate money to you. These are all these factors that you absolutely need, right? But what has happened with the way that COVID has been used to modify or distort this election season. It has favored incumbents. I've said this before. It has favored incumbents and it has favored millionaires. Is that right? Is that fair? That's a question that you should really think about. What does that say about the state of our nation right now? What does that say about the state of our state right now? I did an interview last week, and I posted about it. So Rhode Island PBS, they're doing a documentary celebrating in commemoration of the centennial, the 100 years since the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which guaranteed and protects the right to vote to women. And so the producer was interviewing female candidates from all over New England. And for, whatever reason, she was interested in my candidacy and she came to Vermont and had an interview with me. And one of her questions was, has COVID hurt or helped your campaign? And I didn't want to say that it hurt it. I said that, it forced us to be more creative, to be innovative, to think outside the box. And I'm a digital native. I'm a millennial. I'm in my mid-30s. I live on Facebook. I was able to use that, be more comfortable with that, use peer-to-peer texting, just different kinds of avenues to reach people and get the message out. So that just pushed us actually to just find different ways, be more resourceful. And I think that really helped me as a person. It built my character more, and it just strengthened my resolve and that of our team to just get this out. So in that way, I look at it as a positive. I told her that, it's like life gives you lemons, you make lemonade with it. But it did hurt the campaign, it did hurt it. I'm just not somebody who likes to say, okay, there's some victimology in that I just as a person reject. But yes, I think definitely there are very real ways in which our campaign was hurt. And it's not just that I wasn't able to go out. The number one reason was when Jim Condos eliminated the 500 signatures that is required to get on a statewide ballot. I think that if somebody were to ask me, this is what I want to share with you. How was this campaign disadvantaged? It was disadvantaged by that because you have 5 names now. 5 names. People like the person right now who's leading, Mr. Milne. Scott, he got in the very last minute. You could never do that if you have to get 500 signatures. You can't get 500 signatures overnight. If you're going to run for a statewide campaign, you have to be serious. And getting 500 signatures shows that you have that support, that you have done the work. You have gone out and you have gotten signatures. And I'm very proud to say by February, we had over 400 signatures. And that's when in March, they changed it and they just canceled all the rules. So having people on, so then when we had debates, for example, I think it diluted the message. Because now you have 5 people and you're giving all of them time and you clearly know that some people are not serious, right? One candidate even said in the VPR Vermont PBS interview that he is running for state senate and his heart is in that race, but he's also here. Why? Right? No, I mean, I guess it's a free country. You can run however you want, but if you're not really going to win and you don't really care about that race, why are you in it? You're taking away from the serious candidates who put in their own money, own time, own effort, and that of so many else and are seriously running to win this race for Republicans, right? I think that's important. So when people ask me this question, that's what I would say. I would say eliminating the 500 signatures was a really great way to start diluting. And let's say our party, a Republican Party, let's say there's a conservative vote and a very liberal Republican vote. So, I suppose you can say the liberal Republican, maybe sort of undecided, can consolidate around one candidate. Well, what about the conservative one? It's sort of split 4 ways or 3 ways. So, and I think that, maybe that helps people. These are just strategies. We can talk about what happened in 92 with Ross Perot. People say that Bill Clinton won because Ross Perot split the vote and Bush didn't get it. Maybe this is just a part of politics. I know I kept complaining about that, but Rick, my husband, said, this is just the nature of things, people get on the ballot and there are spoilers. So the challenge then, and that's what I told myself, is to win with such a large margin that you are able to overcome the various people who are spoilers or people who are, your opponents. So yeah, so that's one thing I would say. The party not doing anything about it, not saying, I texted people and I said, when I realized, oh wait, now there are 5 people on, that isn't that going to split the vote? How is that going to, no, that's okay. That's, the Democrats on their side, they get people to drop out. They get people to coalesce around people. They're very, top down authoritarian about that. I'm not saying I like that, but I'm saying you do need a certain amount of discipline. You do need a certain amount of direction and focus, right? So not having that means now there are so many more challenges to keep going. But, that's fine. It's a challenge. You step up and you run. Okay, now, these messages are making me emotional again. So I'm not going to get emotional. I'm going to say what I have to. Okay. Yes. And then one final thing, actually 2 final things. In my Thursday debate last Thursday, it was by Vermont Republicans. It was a debate for lieutenant governor candidates. In that, I talked about how my opponents in the race, who are left and right of me, are engaged in a war on excellence, and that some of them are gatekeepers to the monoparty. that is a permanent political class in Montpelier. And what do I mean by monoparty? That means, and I've used, this is another analogy. So there's a house. Think of the permanent political class in Montpelier as a house that the progressives have built, the far left, they've built it. And so there are people in the Republican Party who found a way to rent a room in that house and to stay there comfortably. They worked really hard, many, many long hours playing golf with reporters, rubbing shoulders with Democrats, currying favor, being as inoffensive as possible. Well, there's nothing wrong with collaborating. I support collaborating and working together, but this is not what that is. This is currying favor. And so they want the system to exist as it is. And when somebody comes along and says, actually, no, I'd rather we make our own house. We build our own house, and then you can have two houses, and then we can, exchange and talk and have a collaborative relationship. But we need our own identity and our own house. That's going to threaten those people who found a way to go and exist in that particular system. The monoparty isn't interested in changing the status quo. So isn't interested in helping middle-class families, working-class families, the demographic crisis, nothing. They'll say it. They won't do it. They won't do it. So yes, coming back to the house that progressives build and a way to find a room in it. So I got involved with Vermont politics full-time about 6 years, 5-6 years ago. And I always am, that's who I am, an outspoken person. I have my own values, my own convictions. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm a mainstream Republican, and I have no qualms about that. When during the 2016 election, I was all about Scott Walker, then I was all about Ted Cruz. And then and one of the things was I was listening to Ben Shapiro a lot, which I've stopped now. And he had me convinced that, oh my God, that Trump is going to ruin the Republican Party. It's going to be the end of it. And I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I kind of just got sucked into that. And then when Ben Shapiro said he's not voting for Hillary or Trump, I was like, wait, so you're not actually voting? So then I was like, wait, I'm gonna look at this clearly. I'm gonna understand who Trump is, what is he doing, who is he giving voice to. And then when he was elected, I saw what he did. I saw the policies. I saw the massive deregulation program. I saw how it completely, boosted our economy. I look at policies and I look at issues. I think about things rationally, and I arrive at my own decisions and my own conclusions. And this is how I've always been. Even when as I said, when I was, whether it's Phil Scott or it's Jim Douglas or whoever it is, I was looking at the facts as it is. And I've always spoken my mind. And a lot of people who are, I guess you would call them establishment GOP, Vermont GOP, never liked that about me. Some of them call me conservative as if it's a slur, which I just water for ducks back. But I always rub people the wrong way. Some people would like to say I'm a troublemaker, nasty, all kinds of names. The B word, bossy, and the other B word, all kinds of names. No, I'm not trying to repeat, the leftist feminist thing, but I'm just saying that these were people who didn't like the fact that I was advocating for something that threatened to disrupt their happy world. And I was not doing that for myself. I was just doing it because I was like, I am getting involved with Vermont politics because I've seen economic devastation in Windsor. I see a culture of despair and addiction. It's not good. And we need change. This is not and you're not bringing about change. You're part of the monoparty, the permanent political class. All you're doing is career opportunism. All you're doing is trying to, find a path to become, the next U.S. senator or governor or what have you. And so this is something about me that has been true. It's sort of behind the scenes stuff. I've never run for office. This is my first time, but I have been involved enough with politics to know the Vermont GOP players well enough to know that many of them hate me. They hate me and they hate my guts. They hate everything that I stand for. That's their problem. I don't care. But one of those people is, his name is Corey Parent, and he was a state rep, and now he's a state senator from Franklin County. And when I announced that I I was running for lieutenant governor, he was one of the first people who went on the radio. This was in January, and said that I'm not qualified, and that Tim Ash is, or was it Joe Benning, his mentor? Well, anyway, so Joe Benning, who's also a state senator, he was a Democrat, now he's a Republican from Caledonia County. Both of them went on the radio and said that I'm not qualified, and that Tim Ash was the progressive Democrat, the Bernie Sanders acolyte, that they would rather have him than me. So I knew right off the bat that he's not going to be okay with me running, and he's going to try very hard to make sure that somehow this campaign ends. Now, okay, now before anybody accuses me of gossiping, or, as I said, like, oh, what is wrong with Meg? Why is she saying all this? I'm saying this because you need to know what the Vermont Republican Party is, and what you're facing and what you're doing. So if you're a Republican, all of you here are Republicans, and you have a certain set of values and convictions, you need to know who's representing you and who's not. You need to understand the players and the dirty politics that is very much a reality. It's a reality everywhere, but it's very much a reality here. You're not going to get that in the news media, because the news media isn't interested in the inner workings of the Republican Party. Well, anyway, this person has his eyes on being governor, and he makes no qualms about it. He wants to be governor, and he's realized that the way to be governor as a Republican is to follow the Phil Scott model, because in the last 10 years, Phil Scott is the only governor, only Republican, sorry, who has won a statewide office, whether it was lieutenant governor or governor. So prior to that, it was different. Of course, we had Brian Doobie, we had all these different examples. But in the last 10 years, things have solidified. Our demographics have changed. Our economy has become even more devastated. And it seems like this is how things are going to go. So if why not? So you might say, why not go to the Democratic Party and run as a Democrat? Well, that's a very crowded field. And they have their favorites. They have their hierarchy. So you can't really do that. But there's definitely room here in the Republican Party. And the way that you win, this is the model. This is what I was told, constantly told, and I've rejected for the last 6 years, is that you have to be really, really liberal Republican, in order to get any traction with the establishment. And that's what they believe is how you win statewide office. And I don't think so. I think that alienates tens of thousands of Vermonters. I think that what happens is that there are 76% of voters in Chittenden County who regularly vote, 42% of Vermonters outside Chittenden County who regularly vote. And the reason that happens, in my opinion, and my conclusion, is that there's no difference between the Democrat and Republican candidates on the ballot. So unless you have a candidate with a distinct alternative to that of the extreme left, unless you have a candidate who inspires people and has enthusiasm and a new vision forward, unless you have that, you're not going to get people to come out and vote. I know so many Vermonters who voted for the first time, not because they're 18 years old, but because, well, that was there as well, but because they felt that there was no point. Their vote didn't matter, and there's no point engaging with Vermont politics. But this campaign, our campaign, energized them. That's something that I'm really proud of. And I believe that's what's important. That's what's needed if you are going to win against the Democrats in a statewide election. That threatens that world. And so I know that Corey Parent called Scott Milne and said, will you enter the race? I'll be your manager. I know that because it was reported by Vermont Digger. And so in many ways, I feel like I'm running against him. And there in Franklin County, they've been building a data system, collecting all the data. And I felt like more than Scott, I actually was running against a group of establishment people who don't want others like me to enter, as I said, the gatekeepers of that monoparty, the permanent political class. Because what happens when somebody like me, somebody like people from our campaign, what happens when we win? What happens when we gain that momentum? What happens? It opens the floodgates, right? We're walking toward the fire. What does that do? It tells other people that they can do it too, right? And this kind of inspiring message for change and absolute disruption, that threatens the people who benefit from the status quo. So by running a candidate last minute, no signatures, nothing, running a candidate who has who is a millionaire, the wealthiest person in the race, running for anything, even governor, the gubernatorial races, and who has run 2 statewide campaigns in the past, so has the name recognition. They hoped that they would keep me out, that they would end our campaign and they would defeat me. Now, I thought, look at the amount of tremendous enthusiasm we have. Look at all the supporters. You want us to lose? You want us to all go away? And then what? We're just going to, hold our noses and vote for you? Really? I mean, you don't actually care about winning that open seat. You don't actually care about winning that race for Republicans. All you want to do is get somebody who because of money and name recognition because of running prior races, can last minute come and in this COVID state of emergency world, keep away a first-time candidate with this grassroots, amazing, tremendously inspiring and inspired campaign. So then what? And then what? And then lose the general to Molly Gray? So that what? So that you can be a Republican governor and say, look, I have a Democratic lieutenant governor who I'm inviting into my cabinet and I'm so bipartisan, and then win more votes from Democrats? Is that really? Is that the plan? Because it looks like that's the plan. And if that's the plan, then nothing's going to change. Not by them. We are going to continue working and fighting. But yeah, that's something true. I am not giving up. Okay, that's basically what I'm saying. I'm not giving up, and I know for a fact that what we've begun will have ramifications throughout. People are going to expect all of you who voted for me and who voted for this to just fall in line. I'm not going to say anything about who you should vote for and what you should do. All I'm going to tell you is that I got it from a lot of people. I got brickbats and I got opposition from a lot of people, not Democrats, from Republicans, who wanted this effort to end and me to go away, leave Vermont, go away, and all of you, everybody who's inspired and come together to just hold your noses and vote for whoever they say you should vote for because they have an R next to their name, and then just go along to get along. And they'll scold you for being racists. They'll say systemic racism is here in Vermont, and expect you to just swallow it. The same people, these are the same establishment people who create committees for racial diversity and equity, and who want to pass resolutions or system that, oh my God, America is a systemically racist place and the Vermont GOP should fight it. These are the very same people who want a woman of color with an immigrant background to lose. Now, I am not saying that that's the reason why I should be considered or I should get anything. No, I believe in merit and in competence. That's what I believe in. That's why I said it's a war on excellence. I believe that if you are good, if you are knowledgeable about the issues, if you have a message that is relevant and resonates, if you work hard, right, then you should be judged in all of that. Not on my immutable characteristics, not on the fact where I was born, what my family is, the color of my skin. Not at all. Not at all. However, if you do want to engage in identity politics and proclaim that all Vermonters on the right are racist, then how dare you do everything possible to defeat the one non-white woman who dares to run and stand up for middle-class families and working-class families and all the Vermonters who don't have a voice and who've been silenced for so long? How dare you do that? How dare you do that and then claim to be, oh, we are anti-racists? Really? This kind of hypocrisy is un-American. This kind of hypocrisy should not be tolerated, and I urge you all to reject it. I urge you all to reject it. My final note is that Deb Bucknam, she ran for a statewide office. She's a lawyer. She's right now the vice chair of the Vermont GOP. She wrote a post today saying that Phil Scott, the governor, he did not endorse Randy Brock when He was running for lieutenant governor, and Phil Scott was running for governor. Randy Brock is an African-American man. He never endorsed Deb Bucknam or Wendy Wilton or any of the women candidates who are running for office. And even this year, he did not endorse Carolyn Brannigan, who's also running for a statewide office. He has never endorsed anybody, but he made it a point to endorse Scott Milne, the last-minute challenger who entered the race, thanks to Corey Parent and that group, against me. He's never endorsed anybody, but he made it a point to endorse my opponent. And we had Governor Jim Douglas making robocalls on behalf of Scott Milne. What does that say? I think Jim Douglas is a nice man. I've met him. I respect him. But what does it say when the people in power close the gates to new voices, to young voices, to fresh voices, to diverse experiences, to people who are knowledgeable and competent, because it threatens their world? That's what you're dealing with, right? The Vermonters, that's what you're dealing with. Hansen supporters, that's what you're dealing with. It's hard to step into the public arena because, you know, I joke about it. I'm not masochistic, but it does feel like that. You get so much bull crap from everywhere. You're running against every media institution. For my case, I was running against the far right. I call them the reactionaries. I don't consider them on the left-right political spectrum. You know, people telling me to go back to India. I deal with that. Then I deal with people, these so-called liberal Republicans, or very, very leftist Republicans, rather. Then you haven't reached the progressives or the leftists yet. You're getting it from all sides. At every step, it's let's undermine and let's do that. Why would anybody run for office? Tell me, why would anybody risk everything and put everything on the line and put it all out there? Why? And then also, put your own money, your own time, ask your husband to put his life on hold, everything. Why do that? You know why? Because of my sole conviction that this is what needs to be done, that Vermonters deserve better, that we do deserve prosperity, this is not right. Using environmentalism to shackle economic growth is wrong. Trapping thousands of people in government dependence is wrong. The culture of despair and addiction, that's wrong. All these things are wrong, and somebody has to stand up for it. You know what? Our Constitution should be proudly and boldly promoted and defended. Doing that is not naive. You know, this is wrong, and the only reason why I decided that I'm going to do it is because I've been trying things on the side with my TV show, with my communications firm, and I really felt that I wasn't doing enough, that I wasn't risking enough, and I wasn't putting everything on the line. And so that's the reason why I decided to run for office. Okay, looks like, well, how much is that? 76% reporting. I don't think I'm going to be your nominee. It's not official. Don't take it from me, but I don't think it's going to be it. I think that, I think it's going to be Mel, and I think it's going to be Phil Scott. And on the left, it's going to be Zuckerman and Molly Gray. I know it's going to be very hard between Zuckerman and Scott, but it's very easy for Molly. She's going to win it hands down. So we had a chance, a rare chance, not once in a lifetime, but once in a long time chance with an open seat to win it for Republicans. And they didn't want that to happen. So the monoparty wanted it for the monoparty candidate. And so I am very proud of the campaign that we have run. This is amazing. It was tremendous, tremendous, tremendous. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart to every single person who voted for me. It's such an honor. It's such an honor to have earned your votes. Such an honor. Thank you so much. To all my campaign supporters, thank you. You know, I feel like I've let you all down, and I'm sorry about that. I did my best. And I'm sorry I couldn't win for you today. I really wanted to win for you today. I'm sorry. I didn't want to let you down. I know there's not a lot of people looking out for you. I'm sorry. I couldn't get this for you. But we will continue the fight in different ways. Um, this page is here. You have my number. You have my email. I don't know what's next, but I love Vermont and I'm here to stay. I hope that you will consider me as a friend and that we can continue to be allies in our fight. I love you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.